Hello, my name is Patrick Bach and I'm the executive producer for Battlefield 3. Well, that's actually a big challenge for us because we have a very hardcore fan base that really loves the Battlefield games, and different people love different Battlefield games. Of course, some people love the Battlefield 2 game, other people love the Bad Company series, and there's so many people caring about Battlefield, and what we're trying to do with Battlefield 3 is to create something that can appeal to all of these people. So we have accumulated a lot of knowledge in the studio. DICE has been building all the Battlefield games from the very start. So all the people that have been building these games are still working in the studio and are working on Battlefield 3. So we're hoping that we can combine all of these things into this wonderful product that is Battlefield 3. So in general, it's just a big work for everyone to find the right balance of weapons, the right focus when it comes to multiplayer, the right focus when it comes to single player, and just get everything right. Again, I honestly think that building a sandbox game can be quite hard. It's not easy to build a great sandbox game. So we've seen a lot of examples of sandbox games being quite bad, actually. That doesn't mean that I don't like sandbox games. I love sandbox games. Battlefield is probably the most sandbox game of them all when it comes to especially the multiplayer, but also from a single player perspective, we have all these great tools in Battlefield with vehicles, destruction, infantry. We have huge amounts of weapons and gadgets that we can make good use of. So we want to create a very varied and versatile experience in the single player by having both more linear focused missions, but also having more open and sandboxed experiences, and try to mix that and create a very dramatic and interesting narrative. Since we're not really competing with some of these games, I think lately one great sandbox game is actually Red Dead Redemption, which is a great single player sandbox game. But then again, that's one of the few great sandbox games of 2010 in my book. Yeah, I think since it's about war in a war context, it's always sensitive to do the wrong direction. So I come from Sweden. DICE is a Swedish company. We're neutral when it comes to conflicts, most of the time at least. And in general, we are not a studio that like war in itself. We like war games. We like to play war rather than to have a political statement in our games. So what we do is we create fiction that is based on a what-if scenario. So it's not supposed to be based on a true story or be a documentary of any kind, and we're not trying to make a political or a religious statement of any kind. The stories that we're trying to tell in all our games is a very personal story from the individual perspective rather than a kind of a army or politics perspective. So we're trying to focus on the characters and their adventure or their experiences rather than anything else. No, not really. I think competition is a good thing. I think it helps everyone to move the industry forward and create better games. So it's good for everyone, especially for the consumer, because all the fighting between the studios actually creates better games. So that's a good thing. I would be worried if there were only one first-person shooter. That wouldn't really push the industry or the genre forward. So no, I'm not really worried about the competition. I think honestly that we have a very strong IP with Battlefield, and I know what it takes to create a great game. So I'm not too worried about the competition. Well, in theory you could probably do it, but then DICE couldn't do all of these games. I think DICE cares so much about Battlefield, and everyone at the studio knows what Battlefield is and know what creates a great Battlefield game. I think in general, if we would try to do a game every year, the quality would go down. I think we need more time than that to create a great Battlefield game. We have been working with the game more than 3 years because we had to create the Frostbite 2 engine to even be able to create the game. So we had to build the technology to even start building the game. So the kind of the bar we're aiming for is quite high, and that's why what you see now from the Frostbite 2 engine looks quite amazing. Well, it's really hard to answer. We built it to kind of last. So it's something that you in theory could build many games on, but you don't know until you've explored it fully. This is the first game we're building on it, and we need to see how far we can push it, and also we need to see what the competition is doing. We want everyone to push the envelope and create better technology so we can get better games. Yes, we will have different layouts on the same map, so you can utilize more or fewer players. Like we did in Battlefield 2.
Okay.
We're not really talking about individual vehicles right now. The interesting thing is that we're going back with, we reintroduced jets, so we'll have jets in the game, and we are focusing a lot on making sure that the vehicle gameplay is being improved quite a lot from our earlier games, because we are more or less alone on the market to have this depth when it comes to vehicles and infantry on the same map. So we see it as an opportunity to create something that is really great. That's always been the goal for Battlefield, that everyone should be able to get into a vehicle and drive away or fly away. But also the other end of the spectrum, the more you do it, the better you will be. You should be able to become an expert pilot or an expert driver. So there needs to be some depth built into the vehicle systems, and that's something we're working really hard on.